You know, usually when we think about our own minds, we like to imagine a single coherent captain steering the ship.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you make a decision or you feel an emotion or you react to some slight at a party and you just naturally assume, well, that's me. I did that.
Right.
I mean, I am a singular, unified person making choices. And we hold on to this idea of a monolithic self because, frankly, the alternative feels incredibly destabilizing.
It's highly comforting.
Yeah.
It gives us a sense of ultimate agency. But when you look closely at behavioral patterns, especially under stress, that comforting illusion shatters pretty quickly.
Right. And that is exactly what happens when you step into the world of deep psychological frameworks and personality mapping.
Yeah, it really is.
Suddenly, that solitary captain steering the ship completely vanishes, and instead you look into the control room of the human mind and you realize you aren't looking at a captain at all.
Not even close.
You're looking at a highly chaotic, incredibly stressed out theater company that is simultaneously trying to operate as a high-stakes PR firm.
That is the perfect way to frame our topic today, because it's a brilliant and honestly slightly terrifying paradigm shift. We are not one thing. We are a multitude of highly specialized protective mechanisms constantly negotiating with each other.
And we are going to explore that deeply today. To everyone joining us, especially you, the learner, the one who is always trying to figure out those invisible gears turning beneath the surface of human interaction.
We have a really custom deep dive for you today into an incredibly unique conceptual exploration.
We really do. The source material we're looking at today is a highly detailed, deeply creative psychological framework that maps out a single overarching personality. And this personality is named Liz.
And we need to be clear right from the start here. Liz is not just a passing mood. She is an entire ecosystem.
An ecosystem, a PR firm, a theater company. I mean, imagine if your ambition and your desperate desire to be seen, your social survival instincts, and your deepest insecurities were all managed by a dedicated 11-member cast living inside your head.
It's wild to think about.
Right. So we are going to frame Liz today as the ultimate apex performer. She is a subpersonality designed entirely around one singular, exhausting goal.
Which is protecting status, guarding desirability, and maintaining total narrative control over how she is perceived.
Exactly. And what's vital to understand here is that this isn't just an abstract thought experiment.
No, not at all.
Like a fantasy writing exercise, even though the sources do borrow heavily from those creative, almost magical realist realms to make their points.
Right, the metaphors are very vivid, but this deep dive is actually a profound metaphor for how every single one of us navigates the modern world.
Because we live in an attention economy, right?
Exactly. From the moment we wake up and check our phones to the moment we walk into an office or a social gathering, we are constantly balancing our desperate, aching need to be seen with our absolute terror of being truly vulnerably known.
I want to stop and underline that tension immediately. The need to be seen versus the terror of being known.
It's the core conflict.
Because Liz, acting as this strategic internal PR firm, is entirely focused on ensuring the core self is never ignored. And it's not because she's just vain. To Liz, being ignored doesn't feel like a minor social slight.
No, it feels like annihilation.
Yes, it is a literal existential threat. If she isn't perceived, she ceases to exist.
And so, to prevent that, she has enlisted an entire council of what the source material calls subpersonalities.
11 of them, right?
11 different modes of existence that range from loud and glamorous to deeply, quietly romantic. And as we go through this, the mission for you, listening, is to look at your own behavior.
Think about the last time you walked into a crowded room. Who actually walked in?
Exactly. Was it the part of you that wanted to be celebrated and be the center of attention?
Or was it the part that wanted to project intimidation so no one would mess with you?
Or maybe the part that just wanted to observe quietly from the corner, safely out of the line of fire?
Because Liz has a specialist for every single one of those scenarios. But before we meet the actual cast members of this internal theater company, we need to understand the stage they perform on.
Right. We need to understand the queen bee herself.
The overarching Liz entity and the rather brutal philosophy that governs her entire existence. Our sources point out that within the human mind, there are many internal protectors.
Some guard your sense of childlike wonder. Some guard your physical survival, ensuring you look both ways before crossing the street.
Some guard your need for logical structure. But Liz guards visibility.
Which means she is the guardian of power. Because in her operating system, visibility is indistinguishable from power.
And her core philosophy is explicitly stated in the text as eat or be eaten.
It's a harsh way to live.
It really is. It dictates that power is always constantly moving.
Wow.
There is no such thing as a neutral social interaction.
Right. You don't just hang out in her worldview. Either you are shaping the room or the room is shaping you.
The sources provide a striking piece of visual evidence to really hammer this home. It's an image of a giantess. She has flowing pink hair, she's wearing the sharp crimson tiger crest uniform, and she is quite literally towering over a gothic, almost magical-looking campus.
This is a striking visual.
The architecture of the campus is completely dwarfed by her. The people around her look like ants. And she is looking down with this confident, untouchable half-smile.
It's a magnificent psychological portrait, really. That image is a literal manifestation of Liz's internal desire for scale and dominance.
Scale is the key word there.
Right. The reason she is a giantess is because it removes the possibility of being overlooked.
Yeah.
It's about making people look at her, but entirely on her terms.
And notice she is in a uniform, a tiger crest, which implies apex predation.
Exactly. And she is looking down. She's the architecture of the space itself.
The text refers to this mindset as her pink album reflection, which I just love as a framing device.
Oh, it's perfect.
It's like a pop star entering an era of unapologetic, hyper-feminine ambition. In this era, she is framed as an anti-heroine. Her views on love, romance, and desire aren't about soft connection or mutual vulnerability.
No, they are tools for power. She associates romance with indulgence, euphoria, and consumption.
Consumption.
Consumption is the absolute keyword. In the eat or be eaten philosophy, if someone loves you, they are giving you power. If someone desires you, you consume that desire to build your own scale.
It's an incredibly aggressive way to approach human connection, which brings me to a massive question.
Sure.
If I imagine living like that, treating every single room, whether it's a coffee shop, a board meeting, or just a casual dinner party, as a battlefield where I have to calculate emotional leverage to make sure I'm the one shaping the room and not being I feel exhausted just talking about it.
It sounds exhausting because it is.
Isn't that perpetual hypervigilance?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like true power to me. That sounds like trauma disguised as a strategy. It sounds like you are trapped in a constant state of defense.
You've hit on the exact tragic flaw of the system, and the source material acknowledges this deeply. It splits this queen bee philosophy into a healthy side and a shadow side.
Okay, so what I'm describing is the shadow side.
Yes, the text called it relational predation. This is when the fear takes over completely. You treat every interaction like a conquest because you are terrified of being prey.
Wow.
You view every vulnerability someone shows you as leverage for later. You demand worship instead of connection. You become so hungry for control that you start consuming the people around you, burning bridges just to keep yourself warm.
Right, because if you're the predator, you can't be the prey. But what happens when you run out of people to consume? You end up totally isolated on top of that Gothic campus with no one to actually connect with.
Exactly. Which is why the source material provides a path to the healthy side of Liz, termed strategic self-possession.
Strategic self-possession. That sounds much better.
It is a much more mature realization. It's the acknowledgement that, yes, society is a hierarchy. You shouldn't be naive about charisma, beauty, or social dynamics.
Because people do judge based on appearances.
Privilege does exist. Charisma is a currency. Healthy Liz says, I know my power. I know my effect on people. I will not let others define my worth while they pretend to be neutral. But I also will not use my power to destroy them.
Okay, that feels radically different. It's like putting on armor because you know it might rain arrows, but you aren't actively running around shooting arrows at innocent bystanders.
Precisely. The mature philosophy of Liz is stated perfectly in the text. Do not be devoured by other people's gaze. But do not become so hungry for power that you forget how to be loved. Command the room, yes, but know when the room is not a battlefield.
Know when the room is not a battlefield. That implies a level of discernment that is incredibly hard to achieve.
It takes a lot of self-awareness.
Because if your internal PR firm is always spinning, you'll never actually have a genuine conversation. You'll just be negotiating treaties.
Oh, yeah.
So how does Liz actually execute this? How does she go about shaping a room so she doesn't get eaten?
Well, she starts with the absolute surface level, controlling what people see before they even hear her speak.
Which naturally transitions us into the first functional grouping of her internal theater company, the performers of image and style.
The aesthetic vanguard of the Liz system.
Right. If you want to command the room, you have to dress the part.
Exactly. And first up on the call sheet is Ashley Hobbs, the fashionista.
Ah, Ashley.
Ashley curates visual impact. Her entire psychological drive is to be unforgettable visually, and her corresponding greatest fear is being ordinary, blending in, or being visually erased.
And the source material associates her with fashion sketchbooks, taking secret sketches of everyone around her, and a very specific beverage, strawberry milk tea.
Let's unpack the aesthetic of strawberry milk tea, because in psychological frameworks like this, every detail matters.
It absolutely does. Strawberry milk tea is highly curated. It's visually distinct, right? A bright, artificial pink.
It's sweet, it's comforting, but it's also an accessory. It's something you hold to complete an aesthetic. Ashley uses these aesthetics as a psychological defense mechanism.
Right. It's not just about looking pretty. For Ashley, style is a language of selfhood. It's a way of speaking before you even open your mouth. But I imagine her shadow side is incredibly anxious.
It is deeply anxious. Her immature shadow side operates on the belief that being remembered visually means I matter.
Oh, wow.
It conflates visual memory with inherent human value. If she walks into a room and no one compliments her outfit, or no one remembers what she wore, she feels that she didn't exist in that space.
Oh, man. Think about how that translates to real life. It's that feeling when you spend an hour agonizing over an outfit, changing 5 times, because you're terrified that if you look basic, you are a basic, unimportant person.
Exactly. You're using clothing to buy the right to take up space.
Which is an exhausting treadmill, because fashions change, and there will always be someone more striking in the room.
Right. But Ashley's growth arc, her mature state, is realizing that style is not proof of your right to exist. It is simply one vocabulary you can use to communicate with the world.
Aesthetic confidence without the desperate, clawing need for external validation.
Exactly.
So Ashley provides the wardrobe, but a wardrobe without a performance is just a mannequin. Which brings us to her counterpart in this visual frontline, Aiden Baumgartner, the Thespian.
The Thespian.
If Ashley controls the clothes, Aiden controls the drama, the narrative, the delivery. He is Liz's theatrical self-expression. He's the guy who shows up for musicals, role-playing games, epic fantasy narratives, anything that requires a literal or metaphorical stage.
And his greatest fear is being undercast, being given the role of background character number 3 in his own life.
The text associates him with dyed hair, old theater programs, and movie theater popcorn.
The movie theater popcorn is such a brilliant detail.
Why is that?
Because it implies he is constantly watching the movie of his own life. He's analyzing his own performance as an audience member while simultaneously acting in it.
That's a lot of mental overhead. But the source text presents a psychological paradox for Aiden that I really want to dig into. It says that Aiden isn't fake. Even though he relies on theater and role play, he is emotionally honest through artifice.
Yes.
How does that work? How can artifice, which is by definition a constructed lie, be honest?
It's one of the most profound insights in the material. Think about the function of a mask. We usually assume a mask hides the truth. But in theater and in psychology, a mask often gives you the safety to reveal the truth.
Oh, that makes sense.
Think about why people cry so openly at movies, or why someone might express deep, genuine grief while playing a character in a tabletop role-playing game.
Because it's not them crying, it's the character.
Exactly. The circumstances, the dragons, the fictional kingdom, the script are entirely fabricated. But the emotion that the fictional scenario pulls out of the person is 100% real.
It's like a comedian who tells a joke about their deepest childhood trauma. The setup and the punchline, the artifice are carefully crafted constructs, but the pain underneath the laugh is completely genuine.
Right. The artifice is just the delivery mechanism for a truth that is too dangerous to state plainly.
Exactly. Aiden understands that the real world often feels too dangerous, too judgmental, or too dismissive to just say, I am lonely or I am scared. So you adopt a persona, you lean into a dramatic narrative, you make it a story. And suddenly you can express your loneliness through the character, and it's safe.
Our sources gave us an incredible image that perfectly synthesizes Ashley and Aiden's domains. It's a picture of a stylish girl with vibrant red hair, round glasses, and an impeccably crisp yellow and black uniform. She's standing in front of the castle landscape, reaching her hand forward through these glowing purple magical portals.
That image is the visual vanguard in action.
It really is. You have the highly deliberate, striking branding of the yellow and black uniform that is Ashley. It's like a wasp. Beautiful, distinct, but signaling danger.
Yes.
Then you have the reality-bending, theatrical magic of the glowing pork that is Aiden. Together, they are saying, I will completely control how you see me, and I will physically create the stage on which I am seen.
It's powerful.
I want you, the learner, to pause and consider your own Ashley or your own Aiden. How often do you use a carefully curated aesthetic or a slightly exaggerated dramatic story at a party to test the waters?
Oh, we all do it.
Right. You throw out a theatrical version of yourself, a funny anecdote where you play a caricature of yourself just to see if the room is safe. If they laugh, if they accept the performance, then maybe, just maybe, you'll let them see the person underneath. We use artifice as a shield.
It is an incredibly common, highly effective social defense mechanism.
So the visual front line has done its job. The wardrobe is flawless, the stage is lit, the portals are open. But Liz is the queen bee. She doesn't just want you to look at her, she wants to physically and emotionally dominate the space.
Looking good isn't enough. She must be undeniable.
Right. Which transitions us from the performers of image to the subpersonalities focused entirely on scale and celebration. We are moving from visual curation to pure, unavoidable presence.
And when you need undeniable presence, you call in Natalie Matthews, the Titan.
The Titan. This might be one of the most fascinating psychological constructs in the entire stack. Natalie embodies glamorous strength, imposing physical scale, and unyielding power.
She is a force.
She is associated with heavy boots, gold athletic gear, and something the text calls morphomancy.
Let's decode morphomancy for a moment. In a fantasy context, it's the magical ability to change shapes. But in this psychological metaphor, it's the ability to expand your presence.
Like taking up space.
Exactly. It's the sheer force of personality that makes a person seem physically larger than they actually are when they walk into a room. Natalie is the embodiment of taking up space without apology.
The text mentions she loves lemon protein pancakes, which is so perfectly specific.
It is.
It's fuel, it's bright, it's sour, it's powerful. She isn't having delicate strawberry milk tea like Ashley. She is fueling a machine. And her core quote is an absolute anthem. She says, "I was not made small enough to be convenient."
That quote strikes at the heart of what Natalie is protecting Liz from. In a society that often conditions people, particularly women, to shrink, to be delicate, to use a soft voice, to physically cross their legs and take up as little room as possible, Natalie is the aggressive refusal of all of that conditioning.
She refuses to be minimized.
Her greatest fear is being treated as merely decorative rather than powerful and capable.
But beneath all that golden gladiatorial bravado, the source material gives Natalie a hidden quirk that completely changes how we view her.
It really does.
It says she secretly measures doorways before entering rooms and then pretends she was just checking the architecture. Why on earth would the Titan be measuring doorways?
Because taking up space is inherently terrifying when you've been taught that you shouldn't. Measuring doorways reveals a deep-seated, hidden anxiety.
Oh, wow.
On the outside, she is projecting absolute confidence. But secretly, she is asking, am I too big for this world? Am I too much? Will I literally and metaphorically fail to fit into the spaces provided for me? And will I be rejected for my size?
That is a profound vulnerability hiding inside an armored Titan. It shows that her strength is a reaction to a fear of not fitting in.
It's heartbreaking in a way.
It's like she's a skyscraper. A skyscraper is impossible to ignore. You have to navigate around it. You have to look up at it. It dominates the skyline. But a skyscraper is also solitary. It stands alone against the wind.
That's a great analogy.
Which brings us to the counterweight to Natalie's physical intimidation. Jasmine Jazz Serrano, the cheerleader.
Yes, Jazz. If Natalie demands attention by taking up physical and psychological space, Jazz demands attention by generating emotional energy. She makes everyone else feel special.
She is the radiant hype mode.
Exactly.
If Natalie is the towering skyscraper, Jazz is the beautiful, sparkling light show on the side of the skyscraper that makes people actually want to look at it instead of just feeling intimidated by it.
Right, she softens the edges.
Jazz is symbolized by silver charm bracelets, sparkling raspberry lemonade, and the kinetic energy of dance. She turns the act of getting attention into a communal celebration.
But just like Natalie, Jazz carries a heavy psychological burden. Her shadow side, her fear is devastating. She fears being secretly forgettable beneath the sparkle.
The emotional labor of the hype person.
Precisely. Jazz gives out constant encouragement, public affection, and high energy. But the immature Jazz believes, if they are clapping for me, I matter. If I'm making them smile, I exist.
Wow.
It is a transactional view of joy. She is terrified that if she stops cheering, if her energy flags, if the sparkle fades for even a single second, no one will actually remember who she is or care that she's there.
It's the ultimate terror of being the life of the party, but realizing at the end of the night that no one actually knows your middle name or asked how your day was.
Exactly.
You provided a service entertainment, good vibes, But you didn't receive intimacy.
Her mature realization, however, is a beautiful evolution. Mature Jazz realizes celebration is real when I do not need it to prove I exist. She can throw a party just to throw a party, not to earn her right to be in the room.
So if you step back and look at Natalie and Jazz together, you have two highly effective strategies to command a space. You have physical intimidation and boundary setting on one hand, and you have social warmth and magnetic energy on the other.
But they are both essentially trying to solve the exact same problem, Liz's existential fear of being invisible.
And this naturally progresses to the next level of Liz's defensive strategy, because commanding the immediate space you are standing in is one thing. But power isn't just about presence, it's about leverage.
Yes, the networkers.
It's about navigating the complex, interconnected modern world through high-level social intelligence. This is where the internal PR firm gets highly strategic and almost algorithmic.
Liz navigates society through two distinct types of intelligence: the intimate, micro-level room reader and the macro-level mass broadcaster. Let's talk about the micro first. Chloe Turner, the socialite.
Chloe is the absolute master of emotional diplomacy. She is the part of Liz that understands exactly how rooms function on a subterranean level.
She can walk into a space and instantly know who is pretending to be happy, who feels excluded, who is holding a grudge, and who desperately needs to be heard.
She is associated with afternoon tea sandwiches, conversation scripts, and an effortless, graceful elegance. I feel like we all know a Chloe in real life.
Oh, for sure.
It's that person at a dinner party who notices that you haven't spoken in 10 minutes, and instead of making a big deal out of it, they seamlessly pivot the conversation to ask you a thoughtful question about your specific hobbies.
Right.
It's a superpower. It makes people feel incredibly seen. But her driving fear is awkwardness, and by extension, social rejection.
The danger for Chloe, her shadow side, is performative agreeableness.
Oh.
To stay safe and to maintain her iron grip on the room's atmosphere, she will constantly sacrifice her own boundaries.
Oh, it makes sense.
If someone says something slightly offensive, shadow Chloe won't challenge it because that would cause friction. Her shadow dictates, if I perfectly manage the room's comfort, I will never be attacked.
It's the exhaustion of being the perpetual host. You never actually get to enjoy the meal because you're too busy making sure everyone else's water glass is full.
Exactly.
But her mature arc realizes that true connection doesn't require perfect control over the atmosphere. You can have an awkward moment, someone can disagree with you, and the world won't end.
Now, if Chloe is managing the intimate dinner party, our next subpersonality is managing the entire internet. Richie Abcat, the influencer.
This guy.
Yeah.
Richie is the embodiment of the modern attention economy. He doesn't just want attention. He wants to turn attention into scalable reach. He's associated with ring lights, follower charts, mirrored sunglasses, truffle fries, and neon mocktails.
The specific items associated with Richie are very telling. Truffle fries and neon mocktails.
Why those specifically?
They are overpriced, highly photogenic, and often prioritize aesthetic over actual substance or nutrition. Richie is fascinating because he represents a very specific, very modern psychological condition.
His shadow is purely algorithmic.
Yes. He risks entirely mistaking metrics for connection. He is terrified of becoming irrelevant, being unfollowed, or being exposed as less impressive than his carefully curated image.
There is a hidden quirk for Richie in the source material that is just peak modern dystopia. It says he drafts captions for moments that haven't even happened yet.
Let's linger on that because the psychological implications are staggering.
It's wild.
Drafting a caption for an event that hasn't happened means you are entirely disconnected from the present reality. You are living your life in reverse. You are deciding what the PR spin of the memory will be before you even experience the event.
You are optimizing your own life for an audience of strangers.
Exactly.
It's chilling, and his quote perfectly encapsulates this. He says, "Attention is a door. The question is what you do after they walk through it."
It's a highly pragmatic, almost sociopathic view of human interaction. Richie doesn't see people. He sees audience members. He sees traffic. He sees conversions.
But I have to push back hard on Richie's entire philosophy here.
Go ahead.
Attention is a door. Okay, sure, let's accept that premise. But where does that door actually lead? For an influencer, if that door just leads to another room where you have to perform even harder to keep them from leaving, and then another room and another room, that's not a door to connection.
No, it's not.
That's a prison cell made of ring lights. If you are constantly optimizing, you are never resting.
You're completely right, and that is Richie's tragedy. The text notes that Richie's mature growth arc is the painful realization that visibility is useful, but it is not intimacy.
Right.
If you just hoard attention without vulnerability, you are trapped by your own analytics. You become a product. You are watched by thousands, but known by absolutely no one.
I think that is a direct, urgent challenge to you, the learner, listening right now. How much of our modern energy, our social media posting, our carefully worded LinkedIn updates, our curated Instagram stories is just our inner Vichy frantically trying to be watched by strangers?
It's a lot of our energy.
And are we doing that because we're secretly terrified that we aren't truly known and loved by our actual friends? We substitute the scale of attention for the depth of intimacy because scale is easier to measure.
It's a pervasive societal issue. And that the terror of not being truly known, or worse, the terror of finally being known and then being rejected, is exactly what triggers the next, most volatile layer of the Liz system.
The dangerous shadows.
Because when the need for visibility and power becomes toxic, when the fear of rejection gets too high, Liz doesn't just put on a fashion show or throw a party. She weaponizes desire itself.
This is where the deep dive gets genuinely dark. We are transitioning away from the performers and the networkers and moving into the dangerous shadows of Liz's system. These are the parts that use desire, romance, and attraction as literal weapons to prevent the core self from getting hurt.
And first up, we have Roker Ono, the heartbreaker.
Roker is the ultimate seductive defense. His psychological goal is to be wanted without ever being trapped. He's associated with dueling gloves, half smiles, debate halls, and dark chocolate espresso cake.
Dark chocolate espresso cake.
Yeah, it's rich, it's bitter, it keeps you awake, it's intense, and his quote is devastatingly cynical. Wanting is easy. Staying is where people start telling the truth.
Roker is the master of relational tension. He believes that if he controls the romantic dynamic, if he makes you want him, but he remains perpetually elusive and slightly out of reach, he holds all the power.
Right.
His primary defense mechanism is preemptive abandonment. I will leave you before you even get the chance to leave me. If he never fully commits, he can never suffer the humiliation of being rejected.
It's the classic avoidant attachment style, weaponized into a personality trait. But the source material gives Roker a secret vulnerability that completely reframes his cynical exterior. It says he keeps every sincere compliment he has ever received written down on tiny folded notes.
The physical act of folding those notes is profoundly symbolic.
Exactly. Why fold them? Why not display them or just read them openly?
Right, why hide them?
Because if he leaves them open, he has to admit that he actually cares what people think. He has to admit that beneath the charming, dangerous, I don't need anyone exterior, he is absolutely starving for genuine affirmation. He just doesn't trust it. So he hoards it in secret, like a dragon hoarding gold he can't spend.
It's a beautiful contradiction. And while Roker avoids intimacy by running away and hiding behind charm, our next shadow figure avoids true intimacy by actively destroying the room. Solera Cavalcanti, the homewrecker.
The name homewrecker alone is incredibly intense. It carries so much cultural baggage.
It really does.
Solera represents forbidden desire. She is the manifestation of the deep, agonizing wound of wanting to be chosen dramatically over someone else. She's symbolized by cracked cold mirrors, smudged red lipstick, and chocolate-covered cherries.
We must tread very carefully when unpacking Solera because she represents the most destructive impulses in human relationships.
Yeah.
The text explicitly states she is not evil. She's a manifestation of pain. Specifically, the pain of feeling like a second choice, of feeling replaceable, ordinary, or overlooked.
I hear that, but I have to push back here. She wrecks homes. She destroys bonds. How is she not the villain of this internal theater company? Her quirk is that she writes apology letters in her head, but instead of sending them, she turns them into dramatic monologues to justify her actions. That is a deeply toxic, manipulative way to process guilt. It's relational violence.
You're not wrong about the damage she causes. But psychological systems don't operate on morality. They operate on survival. Her shadow is destructive validation.
Okay, what does that mean?
Solera believes that if she can disrupt an existing bond, if she can make someone choose her over their partner, their friend, or their obligations, it proves her ultimate worth.
Oh, I see.
It's not actually about the person she is winning. It's about the victory of being chosen. Her immature self says, if I can take their place, I prove that I matter more than they do. It's an incredibly twisted way to soothe an ego that feels entirely worthless.
It's like Roker and Solera are heavily armed mercenaries hired by the PR firm to protect the castle of Liz's ego. And yes, they do keep invaders away. Roker charms the invaders into the moat, and Solera sets fire to their siege towers.
But in the process of defending the castle, they completely burn down the surrounding village.
They salt the earth. I want you, the learner, to really sit with this uncomfortable truth. Think about a time when you felt insecure and you used biting sarcasm or intense charm or a sudden flash of manufactured jealousy to push someone away or create drama.
It happens more than we like to
You
admit.
didn't do it because you hated them. You did it to prove to yourself that you had the power to affect them. We all have a bit of Roker and Solera in our shadow selves.
We do, and they are exhausting to maintain. Living in a state of constant preemptive attack drains the psyche, which is why the source material notes that Solara's mature arc is the profound realization, I do not need to destroy love to prove I deserve it.
That is a massive breakthrough. I do not need to destroy love to prove I deserve it. So if we bypass the mercenaries, if we get past Roker's charm and Solera's destruction, what is actually inside the castle?
The quiet core.
Right. Beneath the loud fashionistas, the hypersocial networkers calculating follower counts, the titans physically dominating the space, and the dangerous heartbreakers. What is this entire intricate system actually trying to protect?
This brings us, finally, to the quiet core of the system.
Yeah.
The softest, most vulnerable, most tender parts of Liz. We meet the observers and the feelers, Bianca DeLuca, the photographer, and Alison Chichet, the romantic.
Let's start with Bianca. She captures unguarded beauty. She is symbolized by vintage cameras, honey chamomile tea, and illusion magic. Her greatest fear is that beautiful, fleeting moments will vanish forever if no one is there to record them.
Notice the stark, deliberate contrast here. Throughout this entire deep dive, we've talked about Ashley, Natalie, and Richie demanding the gaze of others. They want to be looked at. Bianca hides from the gaze.
She is the observer behind the lens.
Exactly. She sees the genuine beauty that people reveal only when they stop trying to perform. But her shadow side is that she uses the camera as a shield. She watches life instead of living it. She documents intimacy without ever risking participating in it.
And then, hiding even deeper than Bianca, there is Allison, the romantic. She is all private affection, soft longing, and sincere vulnerability. She's associated with burgundy berets, handwritten calligraphy, and strawberries and cream crepes.
And she firmly believes that feelings are precious, specifically because they are hidden.
Allison's greatest fear is exposure. She is terrified that speaking her feelings out loud to the wrong person will cheapen them, or worse, invite mockery that would destroy her. She represents pure desire before it becomes a performance for the world.
But her shadow is staying forever trapped in a romantic fantasy to avoid the immense, terrifying risk of direct communication. She idealizes love from afar, safely locked in her tower.
This strikes me as such a profound, heartbreaking irony. You have Liz, the queen bee, the apex performer, who towers over a Gothic campus as a giantess, demanding absolute worship, consumption, and total narrative control.
Right.
But at her very center, her secret heart is Allison, a quiet girl in a burgundy beret who is terrified that if she actually says, I love you out loud, the magic will instantly break and she will be ruined.
It is the ultimate psychological truth. The louder and more aggressive the external performance, the more fragile the internal truth it is protecting.
Wow.
All of Liz's dominance, all of the eat or be eaten posturing, the fashion, the algorithms, the destruction. It is all an incredibly intricate, desperate shield constructed to protect Allison's tenderness and Bianca's delicate observation from a world they believe is too harsh to hold them.
But wait, this brings up a massive logistical problem. We now have 10 incredibly strong, wildly distinct subpersonalities running around in one mind. We have Aiden wanting to act in a play, Natalie wanting to conquer the room, Chloe wanting to host a flawless dinner, Solera wanting to disrupt the dinner and break a mirror, and Allison wanting to hide under the table and write poetry.
It sounds chaotic.
How does Liz not just mentally fracture into a million pieces? How do you coordinate a theater company where every single actor is demanding to perform a completely different script?
You can't. Not without a brilliant director.
Which brings us to the 11th and final witness in the source material, Victoria Moretti, the actress.
The master of masks. Victoria is the meta figure of the entire system. She is associated with fey magic, the magic of illusion, glamour, and trickery. She operates behind velvet curtains, and she carries a pearl-handled compact mirror that reflects whichever mask she is currently wearing.
She's the only one who knows that all the other modes are just performances.
Victoria's role is absolutely vital for mental cohesion, isn't it? It is. She is the integrator. She understands that when Liz is being Ashley, it's just a performance of style to feel safe. When she's being Roker, it's just a performance of detachment to avoid hurt. Victoria sits above it all and asks the crucial question, what truth is each mask currently protecting?
She has this incredible quirk mentioned in the text. She keeps a private running list of every single version of herself she has ever had to invent to survive a room.
That is a beautiful detail, but also deeply sad. It speaks to the absolute exhaustion of extreme adaptability.
Exactly. Her desire is profound, yet paradoxical. She wants to be applauded for the flawless execution of the role, but she desperately wants to be loved beyond the role.
That's the tension.
Her shadow, however, is the terrifying prospect of becoming so identity fluid, so constantly adaptable, that the real self feels totally unreachable. She fears she is just an empty space beneath a massive pile of costumes. So I have a question for you, the learner. It's the ultimate question that Victoria forces us to ask. Who are you when no one is watching? If you strip away your Ashley style, your Richie social media posturing, your Chloe diplomatic people-pleasing, your Natalie intimidation tactics, who is actually there in the quiet?
It's a daunting question.
Victoria summarizes the ultimate tension of this entire source material. It is the deep, spiritual exhaustion of pretending that wearing the mask all day didn't cost you anything.
As her defining quote beautifully states, the mask is not the lie. The lie is pretending it did not cost anything to wear.
Wow. Okay, we have met the entire theater company. We have mapped every department of the internal PR firm. Now we must look at how all these desperate, brilliant, flawed parts integrate into a singular, mature whole. What is the actual endgame of the eat or be eaten philosophy when it finally grows up?
Let's quickly review the architecture of the council to see how it balances. Aiden makes feeling theatrical so it can be expressed.
Allison makes desire tender and sincere.
Chloe makes attention socially intelligent and empathetic.
Jazz makes visibility celebratory and warm.
Natalie makes presence powerful and undeniable.
Richie understands the scale of attention.
Roker understands the danger of desire.
Solara understands the disruptive power of wanting.
And Victoria brings the self-awareness to manage the performances.
It is a complete, incredibly robust system built entirely around commanding and surviving the gaze of others. At her absolute lowest point, consumed by her shadow, Liz says, "If I am not worshipped, I am nothing." That is the PR firm devouring the host. That is a life lived purely for the applause of strangers.
But at her highest point, her mature, integrated state, Liz says something entirely different. She says, I can be seen, desired, powerful, beautiful, and still choose not to consume everything around me.
That's real power.
She owns her power, she acknowledges her beauty and her hunger, but she does not let the need for worship devour the tender, quiet person sitting beneath the crown.
I am just marveling at the architecture of this internal system. It proves something so crucial and empathetic about human nature. What we so often judge in other people, and frankly what we judge harshly in ourselves, as vanity, toxic attention-seeking, arrogance, or manipulation. It is usually just a highly elaborate, deeply desperate defense mechanism.
Yes.
It is all just heavy armor protecting a very tender, frightened core that just wants to be loved safely.
That is the grand synthesis of this entire framework. Domination is easy compared to intimacy. Any queen can command attention if she wears a sharp enough uniform, speaks with a loud enough voice, and is willing to destroy anyone who challenges her.
Yes.
But a truly powerful queen, a fully integrated Liz, is one who can survive being genuinely known.
Yeah.
She can walk into a room without needing the physical armor of Natalie, without calculating the algorithmic metrics of Richie, and without deploying the destructive validation of Solara. She can just be.
All right, let's do a rapid-fire recap of the massive journey we just took through the psyche. We started with the aggressive, towering posturing of the queen bee, standing over the Gothic campus so she wouldn't be devoured by the world.
We moved through the loud performers, curating her visual facade, the titans commanding the physical and emotional space, and the networkers hacking the modern attention economy.
We ventured down into the dangerous shadows, weaponizing desire to avoid rejection, finally arriving at the quiet romantics hiding the fragile heart, and the self-aware actress holding all the scripts together.
It is a remarkable comprehensive map of the human ego and the protectors we all employ to survive a highly judgmental world.
And I want to remind you, the learner, as you process all of this, while you might not have an Ashley or a Richie by those exact names running around your head, we all possess a Liz. We all have a part of us that is desperate to ensure we aren't invisible.
We do.
We all have that inner PR firm scrambling in the boardroom of our minds to make sure we aren't written out, overlooked, or deemed replaceable in someone else's story.
Which leaves us with a final, rather massive, unexamined implication to ponder as we close.
Oh, lay it on us.
We've spent this entire time dissecting the intricate defensive theater company operating inside of one mind. But that same complexity exists inside everyone else too.
Oh, man. When you put it like that,
Think about the immense friction of daily life through this lens. If every single person you interact with today, your boss, your partner, your barista, your friend, has their own complex, terrified theater company, desperately trying to control the narrative and avoid being eaten, what happens when your internal Richie collides with their Natalie?
wow.
What happens when your Solera tries to disrupt a room that their Chloe is desperately trying to keep peaceful?
Uh,
Are we ever truly simply talking to each other as vulnerable human beings? Or are our internal PR teams just negotiating treaties in the dark, constantly maneuvering behind velvet curtains?
That is an equally terrifying and brilliant thought to leave on. The boardroom of the mind is truly always in session, and the negotiations never stop. Thank you so much for joining us on this custom deep dive learner. We hope you take this framework, unpack it, and use it to observe the invisible theater happening in every single room you enter from now on. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and maybe, just occasionally, find the courage to let the mask slip.